Welcome back, everybody. John Irvos is here, Washington, D.C. This is my daily Ukraine news update. Today is Sunday, June 12th. It's around 2 p.m. Eastern Time, U.S. And as always, I'm going to start the TikTokers here, and then we're going to wait just a couple minutes to give folks a chance to filter in, and then we will start. Excuse me. Oh, turn off my phone ringer. That'd always be a good thing, too. Boom. All right. Let's wait for TikTok to join us. Oh, somebody else was new today. Somebody else was first. Who was first? That was Cam. Oh, I didn't say. It looked like Cammy or Callie or Carrie or somebody was first. Welcome. Hey, guys. Hey, Ashley. Hey, everybody. Sweden's in the house. We're saved. Give a quick hello. I will do the camera flip. If you would introduce yourselves and say where you are from, that is always a good thing. Hello, Illinois and Indiana. Cue the Russians. I know the Russians have been, it's been a little tumultuous the last couple days. Hey, Johnny and Johnny twice, actually. I was going to say Johnny and Johnny. That's just Johnny twice. Anyway, guys, hey, we are, as always, we'll start in a couple minutes. I like to go with my Vampire Diaries in the background. Radoslav, good to see you. Up. Blurry. Am I blurry? I hope I'm not blurry. I don't think I'm blurry. I can see myself. Video quality no bueno. What is wrong with this thing? All right, I'm going to refresh on. Let's see. All right. Let me know how it's looking, guys. Otherwise, I'll change. I mean, I know it's always good for you guys, which is good. The TikTokers. My internet loves TikTok. But on YouTube, etc. All right, let me know how it goes, because I can on YouTube, LinkedIn, etc. And you guys on my iPad are the TikTokers, and you all are everybody else. If it gets bad again, I can just lower the resolution, and that may help. Because it shouldn't be, my internet is super fast, but it plays games. Anyway, Facebook is not on. Well, it was supposed to turn itself on. There's nothing else I can do about it. Don't know. Oh, it says better on LinkedIn too. Okay, well, let's see. Anyway, introduce yourselves, guys. We'll take another, maybe 2 minutes just to give folks a chance to settle in, because, you get the notifications, and then we will start with the Ukraine news. And there's actually, yet again, decent amount of news. I'm always surprised on some weekends. I always feel like the weekends are going to be less, but I guess since it's a war, it's not like there's, people are off taking vacation or something from a war. But anyway, hi, Alabama. Adrian, I didn't know you were gone. Or you mean you're back from yesterday? I don't know. Oh, what else? I will say this. I was not totally aware of, there was a lot of confusion yesterday, it seems. Some of the regulars told me things got ugly in the comments, at least. I don't know on which one, but, I think the thing to keep in mind is, and we're going to start in a second. Thank you, Laka. Is, first of all, if you disagree with something I say and you think I'm crazy, disagree. But maybe don't say I'm crazy. Maybe don't call me a liar. I think in general with these broadcasts, we get a lot of people, and we get a lot of Russians, the Russian bots who just come to destroy everything. So it gets to be really hard to tell who's who. And I think even without the Russian bots, if you disagree with somebody, say you disagree and say why. Don't call them a liar. Once you start saying you're a liar, then then I don't blame the mods for banning you at that point, or at least giving you a warning first and then banning you, because you're not part of the. Imagine me saying that to you. One of you guys asked me a question, and when you ask the question, you put the little preface there. Imagine if I said, "Well, I disagree with you. You're a liar." Thank you, baby shoe. That wouldn't go over very well, I would think. So, try to keep things sane. And the mods are very, very good. And they're just very, very good. And most of the time, once I get the full story, like yesterday's story was somebody was calling me a liar and going kind of nuts about it. And the mods took him out after giving him a warning. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. So disagreeing is fine. You are allowed to disagree. Just don't go nuts. Don't go nuts. Don't get into fights. All right, guys. All right. Enough of that. No, but the mods are good. No, the mods aren't trying to make an echo chamber. I am fine with people disagreeing. Absolutely fine with people disagreeing. The problem is too many people nowadays think, and thank you for those lights, think disagreeing means coming in and yelling at people and writing the same comment 10 times, and criticizing. You don't know what you're talking about. You're stupid. You're a liar. Actually, again, yesterday was the you're a liar. You're lying was the argument yesterday. Well, once you start telling me I'm lying, you're not here to have a discussion. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. All right, guys. So the way we do this, as always, I am John Aravosis. I am here in Washington, D.C. I will be looking back and forth because I've got TikTok. There it is, TikTok on my iPad. And I've got YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, maybe some Twitter, and maybe even some Twitch. We did have some Twitch the other day as well. I was glad to see. Actually, my Twitch guy is back. I can see from the little thing from my settings. Thank you for joining us. Or maybe you're a different Twitch person, but thanks for joining us. And what I do is I do about the first 20 minutes or so of news. And I tell you, by the way, I pick the news that I think matters because there's a lot of news. I try to explain why I think the news matters, like why I think this is important, tell you a little bit of underneath what's going on the news, hopefully with my political background aiding that. And then we open it up for questions. And actually, I think the Q&A is more fun. And lately, I've been trying to sort of make it more as I'm talking about it, as we're talking about it, having you guys maybe give your comments as well. And then I can sort of quote what you're saying. And I think it was really interesting yesterday. We were talking about a couple different things about the Russians, and everybody was coming up with their theory as to what was motivating the Russians. And I thought that was really interesting. So maybe when we get into the Q&A, we can do that a little bit. If you guys want to weigh in, I'll just keep my eye on the screen and start to quote people. Because as I said, I think it's fun, but it's also very interesting to me to hear what you guys have to say, because a lot of you know this stuff. Some of you are military experts. In any case, so what you'll do on TikTok, they took away the Q&A setting, which is very annoying. So no longer on a number of us, and I think it's going to be everybody eventually, they've removed the question and answer setting during lives. So during a live, what you've got to do is you've got to go to the profile page. And as always, I will show you until people sort of get used to this. You go to the profile page and you will see that red line there in my profile page that says live, blah, blah, blah. Well, look right next to it. It says Q&A and then tips. There's the Q&A button. Hit the Q&A button and you can submit questions for me to either do now, or they're questions I can go through later and I can do video responses to them. So set up your questions there. That'll work. And for you guys, obviously, use the comment box. That's pretty obvious. Hey, Joanna, you're a different person on Twitch. Nice to see you. For you guys, you can simply use the comment box. I see all of your comments, even though you're commenting on different platforms, so you might not see each other, but I see them all, which is great. Oh, we got two people. Oh, two people. Cortez and Joanna. Two people on Twitch. I have doubled my Twitch following. It is quiet there. It's also quiet on Facebook if folks are looking for quiet. I am going to start. I don't want to lose folks here. But you can always go. The biggest communities we've got are on TikTok, which is my last name, Aravosis. That's my TikTok handle. And YouTube, it's John Aravosis DC. John with an H, John Aravosis DC. So let's get rolling. The final thing is super chat and super stickers on TikTok, on YouTube. And again, I only repeat this because sometimes we get new people. Super stickers are a way of saying thank you for the work. You basically buy a cute little thing that pops up on the page. And super chat are actual questions you buy. I will still try to answer all the questions anyway for free, but I can never get to all the questions. So the super chat, I always guarantee I will answer the super chat questions because it is very generous of you to do that. Tom Athens, I'm seeing more people I know. Hey, Tom, good to see you. More Greeks. We need more Greeks. So there you go. That's how we're going to do it. And final thing is the gifts on TikTok as well. Thank you very much for those. I will always try to do a shout out when I see you doing the gift, even if I'm in the middle of the news, because I appreciate you doing them. And frankly, they help support my work because I am doing this full time, and I hope to keep doing it full time. So let's jump right in. So the Institute for the Study of War, I quote them a lot. They're a very smart defense think tank here in DC that a lot of the military experts cite. Institute for the Study of War says that there are signs that the Russians are digging in for a long war, that they realize this isn't going to be going away anytime soon, that they're not winning anytime soon, and that they are trying to get additional troops ready now. The problem there, in other words, the troops ready for months to come. The problem is the troops are reservists who aren't very good and new conscripts. They're basically new people that are probably not very happy to get drafted. And it's not a draft, but it's a draft. They're not officially having a draft, but everyone has to register for the draft. And something like maybe 300,000 Russians a year, Russian men, have to join the military. Well, they just got their newest batch. They're training them, but these guys are only going to have a couple months training. They're 19-year-old kids who, wanted to go to school, wanted to do something else, and now they're going to Ukraine with only a couple months training. Yes, the Russians are gearing up for a long fight, but they're gearing up with troops that aren't very good, is the point of that analysis. Overall, Luhansk. So let's talk about Luhansk first. Oops. Hello, dropping things off my table. My handy dandy t-shirt map of Ukraine, but I love this freaking t-shirt map because it's actually a really good map. So Luhansk, this is the town of Luhansk, and this is also the province of Luhansk here. Donetsk, right next to it, is the province or the oblast of Donetsk, and it's also a town. Now, these are the two regions that Russia calls, breakaway regions. They're not breakaway regions. They're regions where for the last, since 2014, 8 years, the Russians have been fomenting terrorists, in essence, and sending terrorists there to create the appearance that there's, an insurrection, that the locals who speak Russian don't want to be Ukrainian. They know they're Russian. Now, since I don't know that I've actually said this before, I think I have in a general way. Don't let anybody fool you with that. The Russians love to bring that up. They speak Russian. They are not Ukrainian. Well, you know what? I speak English. And I ain't English. I mean, just speaking the language means nothing. My friend Vlad, who's been doing a lot of the humanitarian fundraising for us. I should say he's implementing the humanitarian fundraising for us. Vlad was born in Kharkiv. Kharkiv is Ukraine's second largest city, 1.5 million people, way up here in the northeast, like 15 miles from the Russian border. Vlad told me, the first time I talked to him, Vlad said, I grew up speaking Russian. I never started learning Ukrainian until I was 10 years old. Now, Vlad's probably 30 years old, maybe a little bit older. That means in the year 2000, Vlad started learning Ukrainian. And I said, why? I mean, why did you start learning Ukrainian? And he said, because we needed it for our high school exams. I guess the high school exams were done in Ukrainian, and you better speak Ukrainian at that point. But the point is, in Vlad's family, and Vlad's family was Ukrainian. They did not see themselves as Russian. They were Ukrainian. They spoke only Russian in the home. So it's an important point to realize about how things work. Frankly, it's Canada, right? Just because you speak English doesn't mean you want to be a part of England. And just because you speak French doesn't mean you think you're the same thing as the Parisians. No. Maybe some of the Quebecois like to think they're similar to the Parisians. I don't know. I'll let the Canadians fight that one out. But you get what I'm saying. So anyway, the Washington Post reports today that a U.S. official says Russia is likely to seize all of Luhansk Oblast in the coming weeks. Now, Luhansk as well is the town that Severodonetsk is in, the town right here. That's the big battle that's been going on for the last few weeks. The big one we keep talking about. Good. Somebody says we don't in Quebec. I didn't think so. They don't want to be French. Good for. I like the French, but good for you. I assumed you were patriots. So Severodonetsk is in Luhansk, and basically, it's the last city to fall. If that falls and when that falls, then the Russians will have that province. And it will be big bragging rights. Kalispera. It'll be big bragging rights for the Russians to take it. But at the same time, it ain't that great because remember, the Russians wanted to take the whole country. They wanted to take Kyiv, the capital in the north. The initial goal was to come right down and take Kyiv. Then they wanted to take Kharkiv. They got pushed back from Kyiv. They got pushed back from Kharkiv. It's taken them forever, 3 months now, to take this. And again, they should have taken it quickly. Then Mariupol down here, remember? Oh, hello, Pincel. Oh, that's very pretty. I've not seen that before, I don't think. Pincel. You've got Mariupol. You've got the town down here that they were fighting over for almost 3 months. Remember, that's the one where 2,000 Ukrainian troops held off 14,000 Russian troops. This little town right here, it was 450,000 people. Now it's 100,000 people. But in any case, so the U.S. is saying they believe Russian forces will take Luhansk in a week, meaning they will take Severodonetsk and Lysychansk, which is a town right across the river from Severodonetsk. Let's see what happens. I will say that for a while now, the thought has been that Ukraine isn't going to win the war over the town of Severodonetsk, but that what Ukraine was doing was beating the bejesus, thank you, Melanie, was beating the bejesus out of the Russians, making the Russians put so many troops and so much equipment that the Russians were basically spending everything they had left to take this town. And when it's over, the Russians will be exhausted and they won't have much left to do offensive operations. Even though they may continue to do offensive operations, they're going to be doing them very poorly because they spent everything they had on this town. Final point, because it is because they're fighting in a town, and it's a town that the Russians already destroyed with artillery, which ironically makes it easier for the Ukrainians to defend, because the urban warfare experts say that once you have destroyed a town, once you've absolutely destroyed a town like this and you've got rubble everywhere, the rubble is actually easy to hide in, so that it makes it easier to defend the city, ironically, although it's horrific because the whole city's been blown up. So what the Ukrainians are doing is holding off in this town and making the Russians spend as many lives and as much equipment as they have to win this town over. So it's a good strategy by the Ukrainians, but it's one without them admitting publicly they know they're probably not going to win this town, Now, James, let me say something really quick. It looks like you, James Landers, super sticker. Never mind. Thank you. Okay. I thought you were trying to put a question. I was going to say, if you were trying to put a question, feel free to, but thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate that. Let me look. Strike, I took up what I can do, but just so you guys know, on TikTok, it's a little harder, which is why I ask you to put the questions in the Q&A. On my profile, you see the Q&A button, because it lines them up. With you guys here, as your questions come through, if I see anything particularly interesting, I'll try to grab it by putting a star on it because I can see it later. For example, Strike had one. I will try, when I get to the Q&A in about 10, 15 minutes, I'll try to get to them. But anyway, just so you know, I do see the questions come by, but it's hard to grab all of them. So let's move on. So Severodonetsk, which I was talking about, the town they've been fighting over the most. I saw reports today with some people saying this is the most pitched battle that Europe has seen since World War II. What's going on in this town? I mean, it's incredible or outrageous or whatever you want to say, the kind of firepower that's being fired back and forth in this town of Severodonetsk. Now, I already told you, Ukrainians trying to inflict maximum casualties. Kharkiv, as I said, no significant developments here in Kharkiv in the northeast, the second largest city of Ukraine. Pretty much there. The Russians are, now mind you, this is 15 miles max from the Russian border. The Russians have been pushed back to the border, and the Russians are east here, but the Russians are making no progress at all. And hopefully the Ukrainians will continue to push them back, but they did push them back pretty significantly in the last month. Kherson, sorry. Yulia corrected me on that one. Kherson, I didn't know it was on the second half. It's like Spanish. You've got to have an accent on these things, or Greek. We have the accent on words so you can tell what where the stress is. So Kherson down here is I would say the westernmost fringe of the Russian occupation, basically, because the Russian occupation, meaning the land they've already grabbed, goes kind of more, I'm not going to get this exact, more or less, I'll use one finger, more or less like this. okay? And they already took that in 2014. They stole Crimea, Ukrainian territory. So Kherson over here is in the west, and they've been fighting over Kherson. The Ukrainians have been coming down from the north, the free part of the territory, Russians defending from the south. No significant developments in terms of much land changing. Ukrainian forces have likely resumed counteroffenses in the northwestern Kherson Oblast. So again, northwest, meaning up here, pretty much where the town is, because the Ukrainians, again, are coming down from the northwest where it's still free Ukraine. And they're threatening the Russian positions north of the city, which is good news. The Russification goes on. Russia, you know, would ultimately like to annex these territories as well. And somebody asked yesterday what I meant by annex. And what I mean by annex, actually, annex almost is a euphemism in a way. What I mean by annex is Russia is Russia's goal is to make these territories part of Russia. Just like they did with Crimea, that peninsula in the south, Russia probably in the next few months is going to declare that these territories they're occupying, for example, the Kherson and Zaporizhia region here, and Luhansk and Donetsk, if they get more of it, Russia's going to declare, by fiat, we decree that these territories are now Russian land. And you are stepping on Russian territory when you step there, even though it's totally untrue. Hey, Joanna, 10th follower. I didn't know I was getting any followers on Twitch. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, guys, but the Twitch people have come alive. I just thought for fun I would try Twitch as well to reach out and see, even though Twitch is gaming, I thought it might be interesting just to try the foreign policy thing, for Ukraine. So thank you. I appreciate you guys are trying this out. Hopefully you like it. As I was saying, guys, one thing I realized too, one thing I don't do with this show, and I should, and I'm going to try, is somebody was saying Facebook may not working. There's nothing I can really do about it if it didn't turn on today. Sorry. Actually, Facebook, I shouldn't say that. Facebook's working. I've got 8 people on Facebook altogether. Yeah. But I've got 3 different setups. I was going to say the Russification. Shoot, I was going to tell you really quick. See, whenever I get off target to talk to you guys, then I forget I know what it was. One of the things you learn doing radio is you've got to remember with live broadcasts that people come in at different times. And one of the things I keep forgetting is to reset, as they say in radio, meaning to say, and just to remind folks, I'm John Aravosis. I'm reporting here from Washington, D.C., and this is my daily Ukraine update where I go through the news and try to tell you the news that I think has been significant of the last 24 hours, why I think it matters, and then we get into a question and answer period. And what I just did there is the reset. So I'm going to try to remember, and frankly, maybe even you, like every 15 minutes, maybe even you, if you remember, type reset and I'll remember, because the thing is, new people come and they probably come and go, what the hell are you doing? Thank you, B-Dog. And it lets them know that, what's coming up next, the Q&A. All right, guys. So the Russification. So as part of its policy of stealing these Ukrainian lands and making them part of Russia, even though it's illegal, the Russians are doing exactly what they did in Crimea before. And again, as I said, Crimea is this peninsula in the south that the Russians stole in 2014. And the Russians go in and they start by requiring the ruble. That's the first step. And they require the ruble, which is the Russian currency, to be used as the local currency. And it is not just the currency you have to use in stores, but it's the currency that your pension will be paid in. So you won't have a choice. You're going to be getting rubles. And it's a cute, evil, smart trick, because if some old person is getting their pension in rubles, well, how are they going to spend it at the local Ukrainian store if the local Ukrainian store doesn't take rubles, right? So it's a very tricky way of forcing the Ukrainians to start accepting it, or they themselves end up starving their own citizens. It's very evil and tricky. Thank you for those, Annette. The Russians have also begun to issue Russian passports in Kherson and Zaporizhia, the 2 provinces I was telling you over here and here. Only a small number. It says the Ukrainian sources reported that 25 Ukrainian citizens received Russian passports in Kherson, as did 30 residents in Melitopol. The self-appointed occupation leader was the first one. Ukrainians are saying that only Russian collaborators have accepted them so far. Okay, that's all I've got for that. Combat readiness of Russian forces. I talked about this, which was basically the Russians are mobilizing new recruits and reservists, both of which are not going to... Oh, thank you, Fleabaggy. I always feel like that's very Ukrainian, by the way, that flower. It reminds me of the springtime Ukrainian festival thing, you know? So the Russians are bringing out new soldiers, but the new soldiers are not nearly as qualified as the old ones, so that's good. Interesting news from the Czech Republic. So the Czech foreign minister slammed French President Macron, I believe it was yesterday, over recent comments Macron had made about how we cannot afford to humiliate Vladimir Putin. We must reach a compromise, a peaceful compromise. Putin cannot be humiliated. And many people interpreted that as worrying much more about Putin than about Zelensky and Ukraine. And the whole idea of, if you can't humiliate Putin, well, losing the war is humiliating Putin. And frankly, not getting all of Ukraine is humiliating Putin. Putin was already humiliated when he lost Kyiv, the capital in the north. Right? Putin was supposed to win it in 3 days. So the fact that Putin hasn't won it in 3 days means it's already a problem for Putin. He's already humiliated. Well, the Czech foreign minister came out and said Putin doesn't care how Russia is perceived in the West. Oops, hang on a second. 1 second here. I didn't number my pages. Macron probably doesn't understand the issue very well. So basically he said we should stop worrying about what Putin thinks, because Putin doesn't care, what we do. Thank you, Melody. What we do doesn't influence the way Putin feels. But then to throw in that line, Macron, who's the French president, probably doesn't understand the issue very well, was very, bitchy, frankly. I mean, it was very snippy. I was very surprised to see that. And it shows, frankly, that other allies, other NATO allies are getting a little pissed off. Especially interesting to get that from the Czech Republic. That's nice to see, because very often we see the Baltic states speak up. They've often been the ones with the most chutzpah here. Arifa, you're back. Thank you. You will often see the Baltic states be, even before the war, the Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, former Soviet countries or former parts of the Soviet Union that were then liberated and became independent states again. They're often really tough on the Russians. Duda, the president of Poland, very tough on the Russians. And, others have been, but this from the Czech Republic was very interesting. I mean, it was sort of interesting because I haven't seen them speak like this as much as you see from the further East Europeans, the ones on the border with Russia. So anyway, very interesting. What was I going to say here? The Druzhba pipeline. So this was interesting. A pipeline in Russia that feeds Eastern Europe, an oil pipeline, blew up. There was an explosion yesterday, today, although it didn't actually blow up the pipeline. It damaged a valve, but the pipeline itself is still working. What is interesting about it is who did it. Now, let me give you the background of the pipeline, then we'll talk about this, because I just think it's very interesting and it's a bit of a mystery. It could just be the Russians screwing up, because they do that. And people have said this on ammunition depots blowing up too in Russia. Don't always assume that when an ammunitions depot, when stored ammunition, when stored weapons blow up, don't always assume it means someone's blowing them up. These are Russians. They do a horrific job with their military. They do a horrific job storing their weapons. And frankly, things blow up a lot because they're just so bad at it. So something like this, it's possible something went wrong because the Russians just don't know what they're doing. But let me tell you more about the pipeline. So the pipeline, whose name translates to friendship, Druzhba in Russian means friendship, began construction in the early 1960s and today stretches over a 5,500 kilometer long network. I'm going to go with 3,000 miles, more or less, 5,500 kilometers, pouring Urals oil, so the oil from the Urals, which is eastern Russia, directly into refineries in Poland, Germany, Hungary, Slovakia, and the Czech Republic. Okay. Druzhba pumps between 750,000 and 800,000 barrels of oil a day, has a capacity of up to 1.4 million. The fuel is then refined in European Union companies into diesel, naphtha, gasoline, lubricants, and other commodities. Now, this is what gets interesting. So when the EU was working on its deal of trying to boycott Russian oil, or trying to embargo Russian oil, remember they had to limit it to oil coming in by tankers because they couldn't come to agreement about cutting off the oil that was coming by the pipelines, like this pipeline. Well, that agreement where they exempted the pipelines made the Hungarians, the Slovaks, and the Czechs very happy because they get a lot of their oil from the pipeline. Meanwhile, listen to this. Meanwhile, Poland and Germany, which are linked to Druzhba's northern branch, so the northern part of the pipeline, have pledged to go beyond legal obligations of the sanctions and phase out pipeline imports. So Poland and Germany already promised they were going to try to phase out the Druzhba pipeline imports anyway. Now, what we know about Russia previously is, and I'm forgetting which countries they already did this to, but remember, they were already taking slaps at countries that were talking about phasing out, whether it was gas or oil. I'm forgetting now. It might have been gas. And the Russians said, fine. Well, that was a cough, not a sneeze, but thank you. And the Russians said, fine, we'll just cut you off right now. And I wonder whether this explosion wasn't the Russians being cute and trying to cut off the oil from a lot of these countries, thank you, Grandma, in order to punish them, since they know Germany and Poland are going to cut it off anyway. So why not? This is the old, you can't fire me, I quit, right? So you can't cut off the oil. We're cutting off the oil before you get it. But I also wonder whether they're not trying to just freak out the Hungarians, the Slovaks, and the Czech, the folks in Czechia, by going after their oil that those countries cannot afford to lose because they import so much of it. It just makes me wonder if that's what's going on. The final point is, I do not believe that this is the Ukrainians, because as much as the Ukrainians are ticked at the European about NATO for not helping enough, I mean, NATO's helped a lot, but they feel like NATO needs to do more. And they're certainly not happy with NATO and the EU for not cutting off the energy imports. Ukraine needs NATO and they need the EU. And frankly, there's obvious overlap, right? A lot of the the European Union countries are NATO countries, right? Thank you, Ricky Tiki. So if Ukraine were to blow up an oil pipeline that was hugely important to Hungary, Slovakia, or Slovak Republic, Czechia, Poland, and Germany, those countries would turn on Ukraine and they would start to veto weapons and things. I know I may have to take my inhaler. It's bothering me. It's funny you said that. I'm going to take it as we're talking. But yeah, so I don't think this is Ukraine doing it. It doesn't make sense it would be Ukraine doing it. All right, I'm going to do a hit of my inhaler. My asthma's been bothering me for a couple of weeks, unfortunately. I should have done it before the show, but somebody noticed, and you were right. I was having a hard time. So 1 second, guys. It's like 10 seconds each puff. I need music to play. I do. I should have like music, like Jeopardy music, like game show music that plays when I take my inhaler for 10 seconds. So we go, dee, 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 dee. All right, another minute. I'll do another one and we'll be good. So there you go. That's what's up with the pipeline. I'm a little suspicious. To me, it sounds like the Russians tried to blow it up to cause trouble, or frankly, the Russians just are taking care of it very poorly. A former British soldier was killed in action in Severodonetsk, which again is the town in the Ukraine's easternmost Ukraine, where all the heavy fighting is going on. Jordan Gatley was fighting for Ukraine after leaving the British Army in March, was shot on the front line while defending Severodonetsk. Oh, that's interesting. He had just left the British Army in March. Wow. And immediately signed up to help the Ukrainians. Man, wow. The Russians are still stealing Ukrainian grain. This is not a surprise. The Kremlin continued to export Ukrainian produce and grain to Crimea and Russia from occupied Ukrainian territories. You don't need to know the amount of grain. Russian TV outlets also celebrated that Russian occupation authorities transported the Ukrainian cherry harvest. So they're stealing cherries as well. This is like the washing machine. Like, they steal everything. The Russians are like the people that come to your house and you've got to like glue down all the, glue down the silverware or something. I mean, what is this? They're stealing cherries. So now they're stealing cherries. So they stole the cherry harvest from Melitopol. Melitopol is here. So they stole the cherries from Melitopol and shipped them down to Crimea. They're really unbelievable. It's really just unbelievable, these people. The final good story I've got for you, and then we'll jump into the Q&A full time. A Canadian lottery winner is going to donate some of his $70 million jackpot to help rebuild Ukraine. According to Canadian CTV News, a retiree from Quebec, Marcel Lucier, said he plans to use some of the $70 million jackpot to help rebuild Ukraine and to fund projects to help people with autism. Oh, that's really nice. Wow. Well, that's very sweet. Okay, so that's what I've got for the news today. Boom. If anybody's joining, exactly, Mariam. Oh, hey, Mariam. I thought Mariam was saying I should give my re thing, but she's just joining. So I am John Arvosis in Washington, D.C. We are doing a Ukraine update. I just finished the update on the latest news, and now we do a question and answer period that takes us till around quarter after the next hour. So we've got a good 40 minutes or so. I ask you folks on TikTok, thank you, Run for You, or Run for Your, and Baby Shoe. I ask you folks on TikTok to try to put your questions in the Q&A section of my profile. If you go there, you'll see a button that says Q&A. That way it lines them up and it's easy for me to see them. And thank you, Ricky Tiki. It also means I can potentially get to them later. And Crusher, that is one of my faves. It means I can get to them later potentially, because I could always eventually maybe do a video in response, things like that. All right. Now, yous guys, I didn't miss any super chats. Thank you for, exactly. I see the reset, Triva. I didn't miss any super chats. Good. Let me jump right in on a couple questions that I had saved as well while you were talking. Hang on. Here, let me get Strike, since Strike is one of our first Twitchers as well, but it looked like a good question. I'm interested in what long-term effect do you think this war of attrition and Western sanctions will have on the Russian military? Also, how long do you think the Russian forces can keep up this level of artillery strikes? I mean, I'll do artillery first. The one thing the Russians have a buttload of is artillery. So I don't know how long it can go, but everyone says the Russians have 10 times the artillery of the Ukrainians. I read a figure a couple days ago that the Ukrainians are firing 5,000, thank you, Netlin, are firing 5,000 artillery shells or rounds, thank you, Arifa, a day. And while the Ukrainians are firing 5,000, the Russians are firing 50 to 60,000. I saw another report that said the Russians were firing 100,000 shells a day. Now, I mean, a day, right? So I have seen nothing that has ever talked about how, the Russians are going to run out sometime. It's the Russians have a massive amount of artillery. It's what they do. Apparently that is one of the mainstays of the Russian military effort in any campaign. They like to blow the hell out of everything with artillery, destroy all the buildings, kill all the civilians, because again, they don't care about killing civilians at all. And actually, I shouldn't even say it that way. Part of the Russian strategy of war is to kill civilians. So they've got a ton of artillery. In terms of war of attrition, just to tell folks, so war of attrition is this concept. I hope I explain it well, but you already kind of know in your hearts what it is because you've been hearing the news. Ukraine versus Russia. Thank you, Netlin. This will go on over many months, maybe even years, both of them facing each other. They kind of do these attacks back and forth. Nobody fully wins. Slowly, their men die. Slowly, their men are injured. Slowly, they lose equipment. Slowly, their forces are exhausted. That's a war of attrition, where you're just slowly eating away at both sides, and both sides are becoming weaker. And the question becomes then, who can hold out the longest? Prolonged violence is one way of putting it. Yeah. But I sort of think of attrition well, I guess attrition doesn't have to be necessarily piecemeal. I guess, can attrition be very large violence, like the bombing going on in Severodonetsk? If both sides had the ability to keep bombing to that degree, could that be a war of attrition as well? I guess it could. It's the idea, but it's the idea of I feel like it's both sides facing each other and not making a ton of progress and just slowly eating away, just slowly eating away. In any case, so I'm sorry, I was trying to explain what you meant there, Strike. So let me tell people. So what long-term effect do you think this war of attrition and the Western sanctions will have on the Russian military? I did reset. Thank you. I did reset. We kind of know already, at least from what the experts are saying, Russia can't keep this up in terms of the morale. Russian morale already was through the floor, even after the first few days, right? There were reports from the first few days of intelligence communications they received with Russians talking about how there was no food, there was no water, they were running out of ammunition. And this was like the first few days of the war. Remember north of Kyiv, when the Ukrainians were able to stop that whole 40-mile long caravan that was coming in, right? The convoy. So we know the Russian morale has been bad. We know the best Russian troops have pretty much been destroyed. The combat-ready troops have pretty much been used, and now the last of them are in Severodonetsk, but now you've got the rest of the Russian troops are either exhausted or not their best soldiers. They're bringing in the reservists that just aren't that good. They're bringing in the new soldiers who literally are 19-year-old kids who were just forced to sign up for military service in April. These guys don't know what they're doing, right? So they're going to quickly be freaked out. So you've already got a situation where the quality of the Russian army, which wasn't great, apparently, is decreasing, right? The fact that it goes on and they're not winning, it means it'll decrease even more. The Western sanctions will hopefully have a problem on their weapons from what we're hearing. Except that it's tricky. We know the Russians have, for example, hey, Yulia, we know the Russians have, for example, they're running out of precision guided weapons. That it's their smart bombs. They're smart bombs that they can send, and with the GPS, they can kind of help direct it and all of that. They've run out of a lot of those. I believe to replace those is going to be very difficult with the sanctions. Most things made in Russia that are electronic require components from abroad, not even electronic. The head of the central bank said most things made in Russia require parts from abroad, period. When you get electronic, it's even worse. They're drones. In the beginning days of the war, we already had news that Russia was going to have a very hard time replacing its drones because the camera used in Russian drones is a Sony camera. And of course, that's not boycotted, but it's part of the embargo. So the one, and I'll continue with the rest of this after this, the one caveat to this is Russia has a ton of artillery. So what the experts have been saying is, even though Russia's ability to use its smarter weapons is going to degrade, they still have the ability to send dumb weapons and just blow up entire cities because they don't care. So for us, it would be a problem. Thank you, Ricky Tiki. For us, it would be a problem to say, well, I guess let's just blow up the entire city. Maybe in Vietnam, we did it. We haven't been doing it lately, right? All of our countries would have a problem with that. For the Russians, they're like, sure. Okay. So that means the war may not end anytime soon, but it's going to get harder and harder for them. Now, I think the final question, and who knows? I had a friend say to me yesterday, and I've been thinking about it too. What about the Soviet Union? Yeah, Hiroshima was, 80 years ago. Russia's doing it today. That's the point. What about the Soviet Union? The Soviets had a crappy economy, and for decades we kept talking about how bad the economy was, and we were only doing loose trade with them. We weren't doing really, any significant trade. Thank you, Catherine, for that. But the Russians were able to keep their economy going and keep their weapons going, their military going. So who knows? Having said, these guys don't seem very good at it. They did a bad job with their military. All right. Sorry. Let me go to a TikTok question. That was a long answer. Didn't mean to go so long, but hope it was useful. Q&A, TikTok. I don't even know what that is. Did Putin go one-on-one versus a brown bear? I don't think so. Did Putin? Although knowing Putin, there must be some photo of it or something. Knowing Putin, they probably drugged the bear. Oh, sorry. Hey, Jennifer, I wasn't looking at the incoming comments here. Knowing Putin, he probably drugged a bear, but I don't. That's funny. Did Putin ever wrestle a brown bear? I don't know, folks. Let's see if anybody else knows on that. I do not know about that. Jennifer K. Did you hear about the new and improved McDonald's in Russia? Yes. I wonder what the cost would be in rubles for food. Yes. The McDonald's, of course, pulled out entirely, sold all its franchises to a Russian, and they just reopened again this weekend. And it's not McDonald's anymore, but it is not McDonald's anymore. It's just a Russian store that looks like McDonald's but doesn't have the things. The owner said it's going to have the same buns, the same bread, which is kind of funny. He goes, "We're going to have the same buns," and I'm listening to this going, although to me that's almost like a classic Russian thing to say. Thank you, Fleabaggy. It's a hamburger place, and rather than telling me you're going to have the same hamburgers, you tell me you're going to have the same buns, the bread that goes on the hamburger. And it's kind of like, at first I was like, oh, wow. And then I thought, wait a minute. I want to know about the meat. Where's the meat coming from? So anyway, what do you do? So to reset, I am John Aravosis. I am broadcasting here from Washington, D.C. We are talking about Ukraine. We are in the part of the show now where we're doing questions and answers. You can submit your questions on TikTok via the Q&A box, the Q&A setting, which is in my profile. And on YouTube and everybody else, you can use the comment section. And you can also use the super chat questions if you want to be super duper and make me happy. All right. Let me see. James Vick. The Czechs. I know the Czechs. The Czechs have a history with Russia that France does not. Oh, yeah. Poland gets it, as do Baltic and other states, thinking of Georgia and Chechnya. They do, but then you get like the Bulgarians and the Hungary. Look at the Hungarians. Or I shouldn't say the Hungarians, but the Bulgarians across the board have a history. I forgot what it was, but isn't it something like 100 years ago, Russia helped them with something and they're beholden to the Russians for it? I'm talking before the Soviet Union. And then you've got Hungary, where he's totally in bed with Putin, even though he's been 50-50 on this stuff, So it's kind of weird. You would think Eastern Europeans would across the board get it, but that's why I was intrigued by the Czech government, because Bulgaria, we don't get it. Romania, look, we don't hear a ton out of Romania either. Not like what you hear out of Duda in Poland and what you hear out of the Baltic states. That's what I'm comparing it to. Yeah, Hungary wants part of Ukraine. Exactly. Yes, Rick. I can talk about it again, though. I think I saw somebody maybe saying I talked about it yesterday, but I can talk about this again briefly because it's an important issue, and it's an issue that's going to keep growing and being sort of in the papers and everywhere else. So it's worth talking about. Rick is asking, can you talk about the lack of Soviet-era artillery shells Ukraine has left and the dire consequences that may have? It's sad France and Germany cannot remember history. Indeed. Actually, you know what? Before I start, I'll do my final puff of my inhaler. Remember, 10 seconds. Thank you, mac and cheese girl. I appreciate that. If somebody can help Tyson, I don't know why Tyson, who's like one of our moderators, got banned on TikTok. That's a little weird, although I think those things may happen. Can somebody go over to TikTok and try to unban Tyson? Otherwise, I can do it on my phone. But actually, Tyson, why don't you give them your screen name over on TikTok as well here? So let's talk about the artillery. So there have been stories in the paper that the Ukrainians have been complaining a lot lately. Thank you, Ricky Ticky, about artillery shells. And that, thank you, Cindy. I appreciate you helping. And what they're worried about is Ukraine started off with a lot of Soviet-era weapons. Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union. Therefore, when the Soviet Union dissolved and we then had new countries, or I should say formerly old countries were free again from the hostage taker, Ukraine, the Baltic states, Lithuania, all these guys, right? So Ukraine becomes an independent country, but Ukraine still has, because the Soviet Union was all of them. So it's not like when the Soviet Union dissolved, Russia could say, give us all the weapons back. Russia was not the Soviet Union, right? The Soviet Union was all of them. So the countries got to keep their weapons for the most part. So Ukraine kept all of its Soviet weapons. Also Eastern Europe, which was not part of Russia, but was held hostage by Russia, also had Soviet weapons as well. That's why the Eastern Europeans have a lot of Soviet weapons too. So what happened when the war broke out, thank you, Christy, and maybe before even, NATO started sending a lot of weapons to the Ukrainians that were Soviet-era weapons. Now, this was because the Ukrainians already had Soviet-era weapons, so they knew how to use them. You didn't have to train them on how to use them and also how to keep them up to date. Right? So that was the idea there. Hey, Christy. And again, part of the idea too, we know, was Biden and the other leaders were afraid if they gave too good of weapons to Ukraine, Putin might get mad and, blah, 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 right? That whole bullshit. So anyway, so Ukraine has a lot of Russian Soviet artillery and a lot of Soviet artillery shells, the actual ammunition. Well, what's happened now is Ukraine has used most of its artillery shells. Most of its Soviet artillery shells are gone. And as a result, and I mentioned this at the top of the show, Russia is firing 10 times the number of artillery shells than Ukraine is firing in a day. So Russia might fire 50,000 shells in a day. Ukraine can only respond with 5,000. And I read an article the other day of somebody at the front. A reporter was at the Ukrainian front and literally was with the troops who said, yeah, like, we're about to send 2 shells back and that's all we can afford to send. And they could only send it based on very specific intelligence. They couldn't just hit the area in general. They literally had to, reserve this stuff for the good stuff. Now, what happens next? So Ukraine they still have all the Soviet era artillery guns, but they don't have the artillery shells, the ammunition anymore. They need NATO stuff. Well, what do they have? NATO has given them a ton of artillery shells for NATO weapons, but NATO has not given them a ton of artillery guns. So what the Ukrainians are saying is, look, you gave us 400,000 artillery shells, although that is it sounds like a lot. That's 4 days worth at the amount the Russians might be firing. But nonetheless, you gave us 400,000 NATO artillery shells that we can't use because we have a handful of NATO artillery guns that you gave us. So please, it's like getting guns and not getting bullets, right? So the Ukrainians are saying, you've got to give us more guns. This has been an ongoing debate. Some more NATO weapons are coming, but it's been a problem. It's been a problem. So, and now on the flip side, just to say, it's not 100% NATO's fault because the Ukrainians do have to be trained on these weapons, and training means trained to use them, trained to fire them, and then trained to repair them, keep them up, maintain them, the maintenance, and deploying them is not instantaneous either. I mean, I was watching General Hertling, who's one of the former American generals I really like, was talking about how he said, even if the weapons get there tomorrow, it could be a month or longer before they're ready to use, because just getting them in place and moving them across the country takes time. In terms of who's manufacturing the Soviet shells, user 8138 is asking on TikTok, I'm guessing the only people manufacturing them are the Russians. And that's the problem, So anyway, there you go, Rick. That is the problem with all of that. Now let me jump to another TikToker. Hang on, guys. I don't have any update on because remember the Brits and the Americans are sending multiple launch rocket systems. Well, actually, we know that the American weapons are already in Europe and the Ukrainians are already training on them. That's been going on maybe a week and a half now, maybe a week and a half. So that's a good thing. But otherwise, I don't know. And Chris, I don't know. Is anybody, I'm putting this up on the comments in general. Chris is asking, is it true that Ukraine pilots are doing conversion training on NATO planes? Are they training on NATO planes at all? That'd be interesting if they were. Be very interesting if they were. Sorry, let me, be fun if you're getting rated here on Twitch. Now, what does getting rated on Twitch means? I'm way too new. Are you saying you mean like the trolls come over, Joanna? Is that what you mean? Just see what that means on Twitch. I'm gonna guess it'll be my intro by thank you, Netlin. It'll be my introduction by fire to Twitch, I'm sure. Oops, what else we got? All right, let me do here. Yes, I see. John does not make a lot of money doing this, but thank you for asking. Currently, John doesn't make enough to pay even half of his bills doing this, and John is doing it full time. So there you go. now you've got the truth. John has spent his entire life doing things like this, and unfortunately, never quite making enough money to pay his bills because John cares too much. So what do you do? Still glad I've done it, but my entire life of activism has been doing these kind of things where I sort of create great communities, but I never quite figure out how to turn them into sustainable. But we're going to keep. Syndicate's helping me in terms of maybe creating a Discord. He's selling me on Discords. O'Hara, thank you, and whoever, real quick, B Dog. That was very nice of you too, B Dog. Thank you. Rated. Hang on. Rated is when a streamer ends his stream but forwards his viewers to someone who is still streaming. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know they could do that. See. I'm already like, I know 1,000 times more of Twitch. Interesting. I'm going to need to learn Twitch more because I don't play. Twitch is another social media platform, but it's very interesting because it's typically used for, Sasha's sleeping at the moment. It's typically used for games that I know. And I've actually watched people play games on it, and it's oddly interesting to watch somebody play a game. I have to say, as much as like it sounds crazy when you hear about it, it's kind of interesting. Yes, I know what swatting is. It's oddly interesting to do that. I know. Yes, you want to? Here's my TV. Well, the TV is the TV bothering you? It's doing. Yep. See, there's my Vampire Diaries season 7, and my hat. Thanks, guys. All right, so. Exactly, Christy, thank you. Let me go to another Q&A on Tiki-Taki. Why hasn't Russia been labeled a terrorist country? Well, that's an interesting question because that was something that Ukraine was asking. Yes, Sasha's my producer, and she's very expensive. Ukraine, Zelensky was asking weeks ago for us to declare Russia a terrorist country. Thank you, Jessica and Manda there. Thank you. And it's interesting because the ramifications, they were saying the ramifications on the sanction front wouldn't be that different because the sanctions are already so significant, right? But what was interesting is that it can open up Russian officials to lawsuits, which is interesting. Oh, Twitch has been very political for years. Okay, there you go. Okay, I'll keep doing Twitch then. I did not know that. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you telling me that. And thank you, Christy. Oh, God. Let's see. This is the problem. There we go. Terrorist state. Jeez. I told you, I can't do a tangent without literally, it's like squirrel. Or no, squirrel, going like, zoom, like a dog looking the other way, and then the mind changes. So terrorist state, it would potentially open up Russian officials to lawsuits. And this could be lawsuits by Western companies that have lost money. It could certainly be lawsuits by Ukrainian citizens. They could go after not just these people personally, but the Russian money that's frozen. These $300 billion with a B dollars in assets that are frozen, they could go after those and use them in court settlements, in court cases. So that's a very interesting situation. So yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I do know why, but nobody wants to humiliate Putin, right? And Biden himself, Biden is still listening to people who are telling him to kind of go slow, and he is. I think he's trying to thread the needle and not be too aggressive, but aggressive enough. And it would be too aggressive to accuse Russia of being a terrorist state. That's my guess. And forget Macron, forget France, Germany, and Italy. They would probably have a collective heart attack if we did that. And Ashley, I very well may. Yes, the streamers surprise you to join your stream with their followers. Then you should thank the streamer for it and welcome their followers and have a little chat with them for a few minutes, as in what their stream was about, for example. Oh, that's cool. Now, mind you, Joanna, I'm using StreamYard right now, so I would not necessarily know when everybody flowed in. But actually, 6 of you are on Twitch. Look at that. I would not necessarily know when they stream in unless I click my drop down and go, holy cow. Although, frankly, if a bunch of you, well, in any case, if somebody said, I could always open Stitch on the side and do it as well. Although this way, at least I could talk to folks this way to a degree. And I can also post comments. Can I post directly to Twitch? Hang on a second. I can. Hold on. Look at this. Hello, Twitch. Sorry, guys. Don't mean to get totally off tangent, but checking. Yeah, see, my software lets me message everybody or just specific destinations. So I can at least message directly to Twitch without anybody else seeing. All right. On Twitch, I should be my same last name, Aravosis. I'm pretty sure that's the account. I've got to double check, but I'm pretty sure the account I set up is Aravosis on Twitch. It should be. Yeah, it's my last name. So it's the same name that I've got on TikTok. All right, guys. Oh, Peach Umbrella. Hello. All right, guys. What else I got here? Oh, here we go. Okay. James Vick. Putin is a history buff and wants to reconstitute Kiev and Rus. Oh, this is funny. I'm seeing a lot of sunflowers. Does that mean we have a Ukrainian who weighed in on TikTok? Or does that mean we had like an evil Russian who weighed in? Oh, hi from Ukrainian. Ah, nice. All time is here. Welcome. Welcome, Ukrainian. Привit. Good. Thank you for joining us. Putin is a history buff and wants to reconstitute Kiev and Rus, whose capital was Kiev, the capital of Ukraine. Of course, he will keep his capital in Moscow, but to that extent, he gets to make his own rules. Hypocrisy is his main thing. Yeah, I mean, and we saw in the last couple of days, Putin put a finer point on it by saying, he basically thinks he's Peter the Great. He thinks he's, a famous Russian czar from 300 years ago. And he quoted Peter the Great and was saying how, Peter went, and again, I'm not the Russian history expert, but he was saying that Peter went and got, I guess, St. Petersburg, stole it or won it or whatever from the Scandinavians, maybe from the Swedes, I believe. And what Peter simply did was Peter was taking back lands that always belonged to Russia, right? So that was and he was going on, and basically he was making the argument for Ukraine, he was making the argument for Ukraine about the same thing. Like, he's just taking lands back that belong to Russia anyway, but it shows you it's just that it shows you the sort of delusions of grandeur, the greater Russia, the imperialism, everything wrapped together. And he is making his own rules. Yeah. And he's trying to, I was calling it Magna Russia, but whatever you want to call it. But yeah, Putin wants to reconstitute the big Russia. Hey, John Rankin. So yes, just to remind folks, I am John Aravosis. I am doing this here from Washington, D.C. This is our daily Ukraine update. We do it 2 p.m., or I do it, me and my dog, we do it 2 p.m. Eastern time on the weekends, and 6 p.m. Eastern time U.S. That's New York City time, Monday to Friday. So let me look for another question here on TikTok. Beep, beep, beep. Hang on here. If I don't see anything here, oop. Oh, I didn't even know that. The Ukrainians, a Ukrainian brain surgeon created their own battery to use in the Javelin missile system we sent them. Get out of here. Wow. That's pretty cool. That's very cool. I did not know that. They're pretty amazing. Just my thoughts are, I'm not surprised, because we've been surprised by the Ukrainians over and over again. So I'm no longer surprised at Ukrainian ingenuity and go-to-itiveness and success at doing things. They're very good. The guys that have been sentenced to death, so two British citizens and a Moroccan, have been sentenced to death in eastern Ukraine by collaborationist authorities working for the Russians. And basically, they have been living in Ukraine for a long time, and they joined the Ukrainian military. They are members of the Ukrainian military. I mean, that's it. They're not mercenaries. They're members of the Ukrainian military. They got captured, and the Russians decided that they would be tried for treason. Now, it makes no sense, because how are you tried for treason when you're a foreigner? How are you tried for treason? I mean, nothing about this makes sense, but they tried them for treason. They found them guilty, and simply because they were foreigners fighting in the Ukrainian army, they tried them for treason. Crazy. Well, found them guilty, sentenced them to death. All of this is a war crime. The UN has come out and said all of this is a war crime. Okay. And the latest is that I think Harvey was saying yesterday the Brits are negotiating with, or trying to negotiate with, the Russians over this. I mean, who knows? Who knows? And I'm okay with that as long as it doesn't become a total hostage thing and the Russians get some crazy thing. The talk was that the Russians would try to make this about recognizing Donbass, which is the larger region in the east that Russia wants to annex and make part of Russia. And these are just Russian collaborators and Russians themselves that have done this, right? And they've already declared themselves independent of Ukraine. Mind you, these are a bunch of Russian stooges that have gone into Ukrainian territory and declared themselves independent. So you've doing it again. I am having a lot of brain farts today. Sorry, guys. I had a good night's sleep, but my brain is just like everywhere. Yeah, so sentence to death. So, the hope is that Britain negotiates as they would for any kind of POWs or anything else, but that Russia doesn't succeed in getting Britain to recognize this it's not even a breakaway region, this illegally stolen region. And that's what the Russians are hoping for, that they'll say, you've got to recognize this region as being Russian or something, or we're not going to give you your men back. That's the thought of what's going to happen. But doubt it's going to happen. So, all right, guys. Anyway, what else we got here? All right. What else? Let me just see. I'm just looking for other. Oops. Oh, no, that's you guys talking amongst yourselves. See, now people are talking about this. Oh, here we go. Jessica, the Ukrainians are very tech savvy and industrious. They have it set up where one's important government documents have been digitized. I did see that, and can be accessed online and via an app. I did hear about that. Yeah. Yep. Oh, hey, Jingle Bells. Thanks for trying out the Twitch just for fun. Just looking to see. James Vick, Peter the Great, Putin has no son. Who will he strangle? All right. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to jump over again to TikTok for a question. And again, like I said, if I don't see new stuff here, I can always look at the screen. Oh, you're very welcome for the answer. Thank you. Thank you for thanking me. Why can't Europe and the USA get their collective brain together to support Ukraine? Because they're scared. I mean, they're scared. What I don't quite understand is why they're scared, but there is this fear in Western Europe and in the US by the leadership of making Putin angry, and Putin will go too far and use nuclear weapons or blah, 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 blah. Thank you, Rascal and Ricky. And, I think that's a bunch of hogwash. And I've said this from the beginning. I don't quite get why our leaders believe this is true. For example, yet again, I'm putting on my fan as we speak, yet again, either yesterday or today, the Russians once again, now they're threatening to nuke Poland. And it's like, what is this, the 28th time the Russians have threatened to nuke somebody this war? I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke at this point, you know? But they're so worried about pissing Putin off. And that's what's going on. I mean, at the very beginning, I don't disagree that a lot of us, myself included, I wanted us to help Ukraine, but I was thinking we need to get in there and help Ukraine. Thank you for the bread. We need to help Ukraine with the to prepare for a guerrilla war. So I was like, get the weapons in now, get Stinger missiles in, get stuff in now. What are you doing? You know, what are we doing waiting for? But I thought Ukraine was going to lose across the board and that it would have to become a guerrilla war. Once we knew that Ukraine actually had a chance of doing something real here, we should have been pouring everything in. It shouldn't have been this gradual thing. The sanctions should have been gradual. The weapons going in should have been gradual, right? It's ridiculous. Well, no, and you are, by the way, Ian is saying here, I see nothing that says UK military intelligence believes that Putin will go nuclear. That's because you come from one of the normal countries. Your government isn't playing games on this stuff. And your government has even said, actually, your government has said what you just said your government said, that they've seen nothing to indicate that. And that's why your government is like, boom, boom, boom. Mine is kind of boom. France, Germany, and Italy is like taking a wet noodle and going boom, because they're increasingly freaked out about pissing off Putin. And possibly, I wonder about Germany as well, and France too, and Italy too, worrying about their economies, about the oil and the gas, but they're also worried. I think there's business interests that are weighing in, just my gut. But with Germany, it just feels to me like there's business interests that are making Scholz go like this back and forth. His back and forth is weird to me. What was I going to say with the, in terms of what's motivating them. And in Biden's case, Biden has two sets of advisors, and clearly one set of advisors is telling him, oh boy, if we make Putin angry, it's going to be the end of he could go nuclear. It could be World War I all over again. This kind of crap. And Biden believes it. And that's what's going on. So Biden's heart is telling him, we've got to help the Ukrainians. And his Rasputin in his ear is telling him, oh, don't do it. So then Biden is doing it halfway. And the halfway is pretty good. Now maybe it's 3/4 of a way, I would even say. But it's not enough. It's not enough. So pisses me off. Oh, that's okay. Let me see. See, now, this is the kind of disagreement I like. People need to politely disagree, and this is a good one from DPN. Dinosaurs. Hello, Kyle. I am a huge dino nerd. Thank you for that. Very much so. Kyle said, or DPN says, I respectfully disagree that this is the U.S.'s fault, although I'm guessing he's arguing with designated hitters here. There are so many countries who are involved in this doing different things. The U.S. is just one part of the process. That's true. And I will say, too, as much as I get on Biden's case about the dino was cool, as much as I get on Biden's case about this, Biden also had to corral an international coalition that included France, Germany, and Italy. And my guess is France, Germany, and Italy, randomly, glad to hear it, France, Germany, and Italy probably weren't great at the beginning if they're not great now. Meaning, we know Macron at the very beginning was Mr. Telephone Party, right? Everything, let me call Putin one more time. Let me visit Putin one more time. So, Macron from the beginning didn't want to go crazy on this stuff, right? And just to remind folks, I'm John Aravosis. I'm here in Washington, D.C., and this is my daily live where we talk about Ukraine. I talk about the news, and now we're in the section of the live that's going to go maybe another 5 minutes or so, where we talk, do a question and answer with you guys. So the question was about kind of who's to blame and whether the U.S. is to blame for going slow in terms of our response to Ukraine and all of that. I think the U.S. is partly to blame. Biden is partly to blame because of his reticence about angering Putin, but it is a fair point to say that Biden had to deal with Macron, Scholz, and Draghi, the leaders of Germany, France, and Italy. And we know, look, Scholz, I doubt Scholz was a super war hawk on Ukraine, the first day of the war and suddenly turned into Mr. Ambivalence. Not even ambivalence. He's just got two faces. He's got like really good, really bad, really good, really bad, right? Macron, like I said, we knew Macron was Mr. Vladimir, sleep with me, right? Yeah, voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? That's Macron with Putin. And God knows he was that way from the beginning. So Biden was trying to get the world together, was trying to, especially in the face of Putin just assuming the West would never get its act together, and to have unified sanctions of everybody and NATO's unified agreement to send weapons. You needed all of the NATO countries. Well, maybe, I don't know if you needed all of NATO's. You didn't need all of NATO countries agreeing necessarily for that, but he wanted everyone to agree. He didn't want the French and the Germans to get pissed off that we were sending weapons that they thought we better not be sending. So, so I'm torn between it. They clearly tied Biden's hands, but at the same time, Biden himself was making bad comments by constantly talking about it's going to be World War III, it's going to be nuclear war. Biden was, in my view, psychologically giving Putin a get out of jail free card to go do whatever he wanted to, because he was telling Putin, there's no way that we want to go to war with you because it'll be World War III. So whatever you do, we might give more weapons, we might do more sanctions, but we're never going to engage you. So don't worry. We're never going to invade. So, Mrs. Thatcher would have dealt with Putin. Mrs. Thatcher would have dealt with Putin. Now, mind you, Mrs. Thatcher might have gotten us all killed, but I say that half joking, half. I will say at the same time, I believe that kind of tenacity and backbone is necessary when dealing with someone like Putin. I do. Ironically, and again, this is where I'm going to come down in one of those views that'll piss off one group versus the other. But, there's aspects of a Reagan that are good for taking on the Soviet Union. There's aspects of a Margaret Thatcher as well that's good for taking on dictators, because they kind of know how to get in their face and go, F you. And you need that. It doesn't mean everything else with Reagan is good. It doesn't mean everything else with Thatcher is good. But I think you need backbone. I think you don't need nuance, meaning you don't need them to look and go, just that. Well, you're afraid of World War III, and we're going to tell you every weapon system in advance so you don't get angry. Remember all the BS we keep doing about telling Russia in advance what we're going to do, so then we all fight about it and then don't send it, like the damn MiGs that were going to go from Poland. Oh my God, right? That whole thing. How embarrassing was that? Thatcher would have sent troops in. Thatcher, well, again, I would have liked to have seen a little more chutzpah. I'll put it that way. It's a wonderful Yiddish word. It's backbone, but it's backbone and guts as well. And, everything. All right, guys. I'm going to do one more question and then we will, and then we will call it quits. So at least I'm breathing okay after my thing. A war winner. I mean, she beat the Argentines, but nonetheless, no, she had major chutzpah. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, Joanna, I'm going to copy that because that was something I was wondering about. Oops. And I've got to, hang on. I'm going to take a picture of it because otherwise I'm not going to have it here. Affiliated, and this is how having 500 minutes broadcast in the past 30 days. That's easy. 7 unique broadcast days in 30 days. That's easy. And an average of 3 concurrent views, 3 concurrent, and at least 50 followers. Okay. Well, 50 followers, I'm going to have to work on. I don't even know. How many followers do I have now? I'm guessing it's 2, maybe. But nonetheless, that's really interesting. Well, that I'm going to keep broadcasting. Because I do this every day and we do about an hour and a half a day. So the number of minutes is easy. And the unique broadcast is easy. It's 3 concurrent viewers, comes and goes. I've got 3 right now, but that comes and goes, but hopefully it'll grow. And 50 followers. I just had no idea. I mean, I'll say this because somebody else was saying on TikTok, and actually I may even segue now, since this is the part, as I said, this is the, what we do towards the end of the show. We've been talking for about an hour and 20 minutes. At this point, we just hang out for about 10 minutes and just talk more fun amongst ourselves, whatever we want to talk about, but that isn't necessarily politics or, all the crazy stuff. So we kind of wind down, because I try to keep the show an hour and 15, but I always go over. I'm over today. Oh, that's right. The recap. Let me do the recap, and then I want to talk to Joanna more about Twitch. Hang on, guys. Good point. Let me do my recap. Excellent point. And if the dog moves, I will bring her to you, but she's not moving yet, so we'll see. Okay. There are indications that Russia is digging in for a long war. The Washington Post says U.S. officials say Russia will likely seize all of the Luhansk Oblast in the coming week. That means that it is expected they will end up taking the town of Severodonetsk, which is the big town they're fighting over. Is Sasha sleeping? Sasha's 12 and a half. Sasha's 12 and a half. If Sasha's not begging me to play, Sasha's sleeping. Kharkiv, the second largest city in the northeast of Ukraine, no significant developments. Kherson, important city over here, occupied by the Russians. The Ukrainians are right across the river fighting them. The Ukrainians are doing multiple counteroffensives. No significant lands changed hands. The Russians are continue to try to Russify the occupied territories. They're making them use rubles. They may start to force. They're starting to give them Russian passports, but they may start to force them to use Russian passports as preparation to turn these parts of Ukraine into Russia, even though they won't be Russia legally. Russia will just claim they're Russia and treat them as such. The combat readiness of the Russian forces is expected to go down in the future as they are forced to use new recruits who just aren't well trained and reservists who also are not well trained. The Czech foreign minister slammed the French president and said Putin for saying that we have to be careful not to humiliate Putin. The Czech foreign minister said Putin doesn't care how Russia is perceived in the West, and that Macron, the French president, probably doesn't understand this issue very well, which was very, very kind of, for a foreign minister to say that about a president is pretty strong. France now says it's unwilling to make concessions to Russia and wants Ukraine to win the war. That's sweet. So a major oil pipeline going from Russia into Eastern Europe was the subject of an explosion in the last day. The pipeline itself is still operating. A valve or something broke, some kind of system on it, and it's not clear if it was the Ukrainians or the Russians. My guess is it would not be the Ukrainians because they wouldn't want to piss off the Europeans. If anything, it was the Russians trying to cut off the oil to the Europeans, or it potentially was just an accident because Russians have a lot of them. Former British soldier Jordan Gatley died fighting for the Ukrainians just died fighting for them. The Russians are still stealing Ukrainian grain, and we found out they're even stealing cherries from the Ukrainian town of Melitopol. And finally, a Canadian lottery winner won $70 million jackpot, and he says he is going to donate a portion of his proceeds towards helping the Ukrainians overall and specifically funding projects to help Ukrainians with autism, which is very sweet. All right, there we go. So let me look at this again. Oops. Where'd she go? Oops. I was reading the Twitch comment and then there it is. Sorry. So, oh, right. Yeah. So the concurrent viewers and the 50 followers. Okay. Well, I should be able to do 7 on Twitch. It's a it's a cascade of folks on Twitch. Welcome, guys. We're actually at the end of the show now. This is the part where we just hang out for a few minutes and just shoot the bull, basically. But I can read the Facebook comments, John Sarge. I do. I can read everybody. Oh, thank you for following me there, Jingle Bells. The thing is, because I've got, and most of the followers are YouTube, but I do have Twitch. I do have some Facebookers and LinkedIn, although I don't know if you're there today, or you guys were there earlier, because they all come into one column for me, which makes it really easy. I still get all of your, thank you. Putin sucks. That's a cute name. That was a cute name. Thank you for the hat. Putin sucks. And somebody else was sending me something. Oh, you sent me 2 hats. Thank you. I was going to say, I thought there was a second. You sent me 3 hats. Thank you for that. That was very switch of you. Switch of you. I'm reading Twitch. Very switch of you. Very sweet of you. Okay. Yeah, I'll be back. I mean, I'll be back tomorrow on Twitch and everywhere else. Look, guys, I'm not hanging up yet, but I'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern time US. That's 3 p.m. Pacific and midnight Paris. Oh, hey, Panzer. Good to see you again. But yeah, no, I'll keep broadcasting the Twitch and see what happens. I mean, it's kind of fun. I'm just kind of impressed there's 7 people there. You know, I think at the very beginning of this, so I've been doing these Ukraine news updates now since the start of the war, basically. I mean, I started covering it full time on TikTok when the war started, and about a week in, thought it would be interesting to do a live. And then when I did one live, at the end of it, it went very well. And at the end of it, folks were like, let's do tomorrow too. And I was going, oh God, tomorrow? So I did the next day, and they were like, let's do it every day. And then I got freaked out going, how am I going to do this every day? But it's been really fun. It's been really fun and interesting. You know, I've been able to grow my followers on TikTok, which is nice too, because then I can reach a larger audience. Lots of travails with TikTok, you know. Thank you, Putin sucks, for the hat again. You know, TikTok can be difficult on news, and especially Ukraine news. TikTok is not always a fan of, you know, for whatever reason. We'll leave it at that. But it's been interesting. And initially, and I've got a streaming service. Thank you, Wanda. Actually, that is one of my faves, you know, this stuff there. But in any case, so I've been doing updates where the first 20 minutes or so, I do the news. And my background is U.S. politics. Oh, boy. Hard to say my background. U.S. politics, internet. Thank you, Putin sucks, for that again. Marketing, media. You know, I was a stringer for The Economist, so I've worked as a professional journalist. I worked in the U.S. Senate as a lawyer for 5 years. I've worked at the World Bank and the United Nations. I've done a lot of consulting for nonprofits, which are NGOs here in the States and abroad, helping them use the internet for their messaging and their activism and all of that. So I've always done this combination of, I say, internet and politics and media, and just decided to start doing it with the war to see if I could just get more information out there and add some value. And people really liked it. You know, basically using, I am not a military guy, but I am a foreign policy. I also have a very strong foreign policy background. Can you add the subscription on TikTok? I'm not sure what that means. Cindy, is that to me or to somebody else? But I have a very strong foreign policy background. I mean, I studied in Masters of Foreign Service at Georgetown. I speak 5 languages. I've worked and traveled around the world. I even got into the U.S. State Department and was passed the exam to become a U.S. diplomat, and said no for a very long story that makes me sad. But what do you do? But in any case, so yeah, foreign policy is one of my strengths. So I thought, you know, it might be interesting to talk about the war, French, Spanish, Italian, and Greek. Although my French and Spanish are super fluent. My Italian is rusty and my Greek is rusty. Exactly. And my hair is different each day because I have Greek hair, and it just, everybody keeps going, oh, you got a haircut. And I'm like, nope, just my hair is different every day because that's what Greek hair does. Oh God. But yeah, so that's who I am. And that's what we try to do here. So I thought it would be fun to basically talk about the news and, you know, use my background in politics and journalism and everything else to synthesize the news, find the stories, you know, maybe give you 20 minutes of a day's worth of news, and tell you why it matters from what I know. But also I read, hola Bolivia, ¿qué tal? I also read a ton of the other defense folks out there, the defense experts, and synthesize what they're saying for you, because that's often a lot of what journalists do, frankly. Is one of the good things journalists can do is, even though something may not be their specialty, if they're very good journalists, they should be good at, thank you, Remy. They should be good at synthesizing information, at talking to a bunch of sources, to a bunch of experts, and then like crystallizing it and summarizing it for you. And that's one of the things I think I am good at. And one of the things I that's my goal with TikTok, my videos, but also with the lives, is hopefully to do that. And then thank you, Iggy. And all the more fun that we've kind of built up a community here, which is kind of neat. I mean, we did build up a community. We didn't kind of, you know. Thank you, Putin. This guy cracks me up. It's or he or she is Putin. The name on TikTok is Putin sucks. So every time I've got to bring it up, I've got to say, thank you, Putin sucks. It's very cute. Thank you. Anyway, so that's what's going on with this. Love to see you go on the actual news for a Ukrainian subject. You know, the only thing is I'd almost be uncomfortable going on the actual news, you know. Oh, was there a question I missed or message? Oh, the watch party. Oh my God, I forgot. Ah, that's right. The watch party. Oh, shoot. So double check, guys. Tomorrow we have a hearing going on. The second congressional hearing about the January 6th attack on the Capitol is happening. I believe it's 10 a.m., but let's double check. Congressional hearing January 6th should be 10 a.m. tomorrow. Actually, it should be on their webpage. I'm sure it's 10 a.m. Eastern, but I just want to make sure, you know, just to be, I want to see it for myself just to be safe here. Oh, here we go. News. Come on. Oh, Jesus Christ. I hate this because all the stories are about the hearings. Okay, here's scheduled dates. Hopefully these guys are right. Yep, second hearing will be Monday, June 13th at 10 a.m. Eastern. Okay, all right. Then I'm going to, right before we start, so tomorrow night we will do our, let me get my pen here. Tomorrow night we will do our update, our Ukraine update. Okay, guys? Oh, hang on a second. You can tell me what I do with subscriptions. Hang on a sec. So tomorrow we'll do the Ukraine update at 6 p.m. Eastern update, and then 10 a.m. and I'll start 10 minutes early, probably 9:50 a.m. But 10 a.m. Eastern time, we'll just watch the January 6th hearings together if you guys want. You know, I'll have it on my end so you can hear it. But otherwise, you can watch it on TV. You can find it online. It's all over the place online. But we can do that. So let's do that. I will set it up. As soon as I hang up with you guys so that you will see both of them on TikTok and you'll see both of them on, well, actually on all of the services. You should see both of them previewed, however they preview them. And as I said, within 15 minutes of when I hang up with you guys, I'll set it up. But it was fun last night. It was interesting, actually, just having sort of the group watching it together. So yeah, and I'll come on before 10. Maybe I'll come on at 9:50 or something a.m. U.S. time or Eastern time, which is 10 a.m. is 7 a.m. Pacific. 10 a.m. is going to be 4 p.m. Paris. Oh, and here we go. Oh, people can subscribe to you here on Twitch when you get affiliated. So for now, they can only follow me. Oh, I see. Okay. Twitch will send you automatically an email when you reach their affiliation criteria. Okay, then you can set up. Okay, so basically I've got to get people to follow. Oh, and thank you, Elise. Oh, favorite dinosaur. So favorite dinosaur, you know, I always grew up loving Brontosaurus, and I know he sort of became something else, which kind of bummed me out as I got older. Boy, it's hard to say favorite. I mean, you know, Tyrannosaurus Rex is still pretty freaking cool. I mean, if I wanted one dinosaur bone, it'd be like I want a Tyrannosaurus tooth. Okay, that would be the one dinosaur bone I wish I had. Bye, Sherop. Good to see you. You know, that would be the one dinosaur. I think that's a way for me to think about it. Is I would want, even though the Tyrannosaurus himself, I think favorite, he scares me too much, so maybe I don't think favorite for him. But I always liked Triceratops as a kid because I thought it was cool. But I mean, you know, but T-Rex is pretty cool, even though he's a little mean for my taste. Stegosauruses. Oh, you know, Stegosauruses. I've got to I've got to Google again. I forget. Are stegosauruses the I always forget. Are they the ones with the tail? I'm already forgetting. I know Brachiosaurus. They're saying now exactly. They bummed me out when they did that. You know. But something about the Brontosauruses kind of, you know what it was too? It was the whole issue of it was the whole new dinosaur movie. I didn't know that. It was the whole issue of the Flintstones too, I think, getting me going on Brontosauruses, because we heard so much about Brontosauruses there. Joanna, let me look. Now I'm looking at your previous one to see what you had said about the subscribe thing. So I've got a, yep. And thanks, Tyson, for reminding me about the watch party there. Sorry, scrolling back to Joanna's other. We get a lot of comments. Oh, you'll get those 50 followers soon. Okay, so I just need 50 followers first, and then we go from there. Okay. Thanks, Joanna. No, I mean, no, I'm glad to hear this, because I've always been curious about Twitch, but I just was too worried that Twitch was going to be would be gamers. And I love games. I mean, I love games, but I thought the gamers would get pissed off that I'm bringing politics in. So Dino the dinosaur. So I literally, so I was going to say, so at the beginning when I started doing this, I initially added Twitch. I think I had like nobody watching, and I could only pick a certain number of things to stream to. So instead I went to my various Twitter feeds and Facebook. And in the end, Twitter isn't getting that much. Facebook's pretty poor. I mean, Facebook is pretty low each time, like just a couple people. Twitch is already beating Facebook, and I just added Twitch yesterday. So Facebook, look out. And YouTube is always good. And obviously TikTok is always great. TikTok, you're always great. But the Twitch thing has me very intrigued already. Like I said, that there's 7 people there is fascinating to me. So that's good. Yeah, no, I'm just going to keep posting it. And it's every day. Let's see how it goes. But that would be fun. Yeah, I mean, monetizing all the better. And as we said, we're talking about it. I mean, I've been thinking about Patreon, syndicates pushing me to do a Discord. But I'm just trying to figure out what makes sense. Like, because I want there to be a value added to it, and I don't want to lose my mind. Twitch is for everyone now at the beginning of times. So basically, we ruined Twitch the same way we ruined TikTok, is what you're saying? Because I laugh, like everyone, when I say I'm on TikTok, I still get that, isn't TikTok for 13-year-old girls? And I'm like, oh, please. Like, thank you, B-Dog. I'm like, you should see the number of people who are into politics on TikTok. I mean, it's amazing. But there was this perception, and I tell them, oh no, what I tell them actually, I go, oh no, we already ruined TikTok the way we ruined Facebook, is what I tell them. Oh, interesting. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. That's great. Then I'll definitely do this, because this is, like I said, we've been talking about the war for 3 months now. We did take over TikTok. I know. Workers of the world unite, or TikTokers of the world unite. No, that's what I'm thinking of me. I mean, I could see Discord being a place, and we can set up a whatever it's called section that, if a premium section or something. I just want to make sure I'm able to create premium content for it, is the thing, but it's not a bad idea. Also, because honestly, there's always the risk with these forum anyway, or these fora, with these forums that, interesting. Oh, interesting. If you sign a contract with Twitch, you cannot stream to other platforms as you do now? Really? Is that true? Ooh, Joanna, Pinky Girl is telling me this. Is this the case? Ooh. Yikes. Okay, thanks, Remy. Yeah, again, I will probably do this. I don't want to keep putting it off forever. I ought to do it sooner than later, because we built up a nice community, and I always worry about TikTok or something taking the community away from me, so I want to have somewhere where the community is offline as well, so that, God forbid someday, some decent comedy. That's interesting. I get a lot of my good comedy. Oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, I haven't seen that motorcycle in a long time. What is it? Hermenegildo. That's an interesting name. I don't know that name. Hermenegildo. I will be on, not this evening, no, because this was this evening's show. On the weekends, I do it earlier to try to give the Europeans a chance, since it's a little harder for them in the evening. That is true. Ugh. All right. Well, we'll see. I mean, look, the Twitch thing would be that if I were to sign a contract with Twitch to become an affiliate, I could only my beaming. Well, let me ask you this: I can't multicast what I'm sending to Twitch, but I could do a Twitch show and then do other shows on other networks. Is what I'm guessing. I would just have to decide if it's worth it, because it would be interesting to try to build up the Twitch audience. If it's an audience that can be built and it can be monetized, that would be fun. But if I'm doing 2 shows a day, it would have to be worth it. You know, I mean, just because this is exhausting. And I mean, the good thing is I've already got the news written up. It's just, we went an hour and 40 minutes. Get banned from multi-streaming on other platforms when affiliated. Correct. But what if I'm affiliated? Can I do a Twitch broadcast and then an hour later broadcast on TikTok, broadcast something else on TikTok and, YouTube? That's my question. Let me know that before I mean, we can talk another day too. This is very helpful, Joanna. But before I sign off, just curious, like I said, yeah. So can I do a Twitch broadcast on its own, and then an hour later I can do my broadcast, I could do a Ukraine broadcast on Twitch, and an hour later do a Ukraine broadcast on TikTok and YouTube. Is that allowed? D D D D D D D D D D D D. Ah. Interesting. Oh, that's interesting. So Twitch, well, I mean, I always knew about the games. Like I said, I always knew about the games. Just didn't know beyond that. So, all right, I'm going to wait. Thank you, Putin sucks. Wait till I hear from Joanna, and then I'm going to head out just because I've got to go to the store. I've got a couple things I want to do. So, and I want to take the dog out a little bit because poor thing has been locked in with me all weekend. So we thought it was going to rain today, and it's not raining. So, and no, cue elevator music. Still waiting to hear. Putin sucks. Oh, there she is. This is good to know too. Your Twitch broadcast must be at least 24 hours old. Oh, then that's fine then. Oh, that's okay. Yeah. So I wouldn't even be posting my Twitch broadcast. I would simply be doing Twitch, and then perhaps an hour later, on Twitch, I'm Aravosis, same name as I've got on TikTok. So then an hour later, I could do a broadcast on YouTube, a separate broadcast. Okay. So it's simply reposting the same one. So in other words, if I did a Twitch broadcast, I couldn't put it on YouTube for 24 hours. Etc. Oh, that's okay. Let's see. If Twitch has possibilities, because the thing is, I've already got the news written up. It's just a matter of, presenting it twice would be tiring. And I just have to make sure it's, if there's hope of turning it into something, because it's just really, it's just really tiring talking for 3 hours a day. I could do the hour and a half like this hour and 45. It's just, and especially with my asthma lately. But okay, that's interesting. Okay, thanks, Joanna. That's very interesting. Yeah. So as long as you do separate streams when affiliated, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. We'll figure it out then. Yeah. I'll have to figure that out. That's very interesting. Okay, guys. All right, Joanna, you have been a dear. I appreciate that. Guys, then let's go. You must, wait a minute, Joanna. Pinky's saying you must wait 24 hours to stream next time. What does that mean? What does that mean? You must wait 24 hours to stream next time. Pinky's saying that I've got to wait 24 hours period before I can stream anywhere. Of course, does that mean I can stream? Does that mean I can stream to TikTok and YouTube first, and then after? Thank you, James. Good to see you. And then afterwards, Yeah, but it is exclusive. That's not my point. I would do a whole new show. That's my question. I would do a whole new show. I'm not going to rebroadcast the same. I'm not going to put the same tape up. I would start a new show. Like it would be like us finishing here, and then I would literally go live on Twitch and say, "Hey guys, welcome Twitch. Let's talk about Ukraine." You know what I mean? And we just the same way here that it kind of goes all sorts of different directions. That's the same thing I would do. So yeah, you guys can sign off. I don't mean to keep you here because as soon as I'm done gleaning my wisdom from Joanna, I'm going to sign off for now. Thank you for the 200,000 likes. You guys did amazing on TikTok. I appreciate that. I saw that. So thank you all. You can stream many times a day on Twitch, but on other platforms separately. Yeah, you can stream many times a day on Twitch, but on other platforms separately, new shows. Exactly. So I can do other platforms as long as they're new shows. But I've got it right. What Twitch wants is, it sounds like, which makes sense. Twitch wants to say that show you do on Twitch, you are only broadcasting that show on Twitch and you're not sending it anywhere else at the same time. Right. So that they basically have exclusive rights to that recording I make, in essence. Yeah. Au revoir, Audrien. À demain, peut-être. Okay, guys. So exactly. Take care. Drink water. So, all right, I'm going to sign off, guys. So tomorrow, then, remember, we've got a 10 a.m. watch party. So yes, you can stream a few minutes later on other platforms. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Joanna. You've been lovely. I really appreciate you helping me on this because, like I said, I've always been curious about Twitch. So, let's see if I can build it up, and I'm willing to try. I'm crazy. I'm willing to try 2 broadcasts a day. Oh my God. Yeah, I could post it on YouTube. The only thing is, I've got a YouTube audience, so it's kind of nice, you know what I mean? And with everything, but we'll figure it out. All right, guys. So thank you for coming. As I said, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, we're going to do a watch party for the January 6th insurrection congressional hearings. And then 6 p.m. Eastern time at night, we will be doing my regular update about Ukraine. So I'm going to say bye-bye. Okay. Oh, that's great. Well, stay in touch, Joanna, please. I don't even know. Can you message me somewhere? You know what? Send me an email if you don't mind. I'm my last name at gmail.com, Aravosis@gmail. I wouldn't mind just being able to stay in touch with you if you don't mind, if I ever have questions. It's just nice to find somebody who actually understands Twitch. I just set up the account because my nephew said, try it. And I was like, okay. But I didn't know much beyond that. So I appreciate that. All right. TikTokers, give me the bye-bye so I know it caught up, because TikTok is always about 20 seconds behind. And YouTubers, all of you, thank you. Moderators, all of you, thank you. I appreciate it. And all of you today, and some of you disagreeing, as we said, I'm glad if you disagreed nicely, because that's what actually DNP did, as I recall, which is, although he was disagreeing with somebody else, but he was still doing it nicely, and that's what I like. I want people to have intellectual debates where we can disagree with each other and say, I don't think that's right, and say, burr, 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 and tell me why, rather than, you're a liar. So this is good. We are happy today. All right, guys. All right, I'm going to hang up on you first. Thank you. Follow me on my socials then. Send me your socials, Joanna, as well. I can follow you on there. Just email me and send me the kit and caboodle. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Bye, guys, on YouTube.